Hey everybody, I still remember my first big push. I was an assistant manager. There was about 60 representatives on our team in the summertime, way back when I first started Cutco. And it was actually it was my first big push. I went after a big number. Let me put it that way. I did about 5K before in that previous year. And it was interesting because I had the whole team I was trying to bring up to the level that I was shooting for that I'd never done. That was twice as much as what I was actually had ever accomplished. And I was going after a $10,000 push, which back in the day was actually a pretty big deal. Um, Interestingly enough, I didn't know if I could do it or not. I just really just went to the grindstone and did worked as hard as I could and ended up doubling my. I ended up doing 5,000 the first week and then 6,000 the second week and hit the $10,000 mark. And it just progressed from year after year after year, up to where it is now, from like 20 to 30 to 40 to 50, 60, 70, 80, $100,000. And so I think first thing is pretty important for people to really kind of get at here is what is the reason for actually pushing? What are your reasons for pushing? I'm going to cover that. I'm going to go after like efficiency for you and help you maximize the push by being more efficient. And I want to talk about your goals. Those are the things that I think make the biggest difference. So first thing is really the reason behind going after a push, and what is it you're benefiting from? Because I think if you can commit to the push, it's a huge difference in your results than if you're not committed to the push. And why commit to something if you don't believe in it? Why commit to something that you don't understand, or why you would work hard for it? It's just this thing people just go do, right? So if you can actually fundamentally get it ingrained in you that this is actually a really good thing for you, I think it'll make a big difference. So in the push, what you'll find is that if you push yourself beyond what you've ever pushed yourself before, and some of this you might have heard before, there's a few things here that you probably never heard. In order to grow, if you push yourself, you will get to the next level, which will allow you to achieve things easier in your life. Everything in your life becomes easier. You'll also innovate and find yourself doing so much work and so many appointments that you start to notice correlations you would never have noticed before in your business, in your appointments as well. No matter what's happening, no matter how bad of a day you might have, you'll just get to the point where if you have enough bad times in a row, you just start to make it happen. You just create success. You change what you're doing. And there's a lot more motivation to change when you're in a lot more pain than there is motivation to change when you're just doing a couple appointments here and there. So you really do figure out how to handle certain objections that you maybe have noticed you're getting over and over that you haven't handled before. You get frustrated enough to make it happen. You learn to overcome and create big CPO no matter what's happening to you. You have your biggest week ever. You think about the prizes for the push and really understand, like, depending upon what push it is that you're going after, that it is a higher commission percentage than you will ever have any other time of the year. It's during push periods, because if you take the monetary value of the prizes that you can win, you divide that into the cost, what the actual work that you've done and how much you're making per hour or per appointment. You have to do the math for yourself. It depends on the push, but you can make many percentages higher, 5, 10, 15% higher than your regular commission rate. So think about that as well. Challenges also help you to grow. And in life, it's interesting because you push yourself in other areas, things become easier. When you overcome a challenge in one area, you're handling a tough situation in relationships, handling a tough situation physically can become much easier as well. I remember my bike trip when I went across the country for 4 months and I got done with bicycling across the country, speaking to kids across the country about overcoming obstacles. I went back to my hometown, which was in Grand Rapids, Michigan at the time. And I remember hanging out with my friends for the first time after 4 months that I had actually been seeing them. And it was just like some of the things they were saying, like some of the things they like made an offhanded complaint about something, or they were, there was this thing that happened and they were like, they made like not like a massive deal about it, but it was like a thing that it was annoying to them. And I just was having a hard time connecting at that point and really like understanding, where they're coming from, because my way of thinking had completely shifted during the course of working for 10 hours in the cardio zone, going up mountains, or going against the winds in Kansas for 12 hours from morning to sunset, just like biking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles. Like, regular challenges had just become like not really challenges anymore. And I think when we put ourselves in these situations where we have a push period for Cutco, where we're working harder than we've ever worked before, we're staying up, we're getting to bed earlier, getting up earlier, or we're staying up late because we just have to, and we're just getting up earlier still, and we're just working more than we've ever worked before. It puts you in a situation where when you're done, with this push, you're able to actually work harder or more efficiently without it feeling like it's a big deal. Okay, but when you're stretched from the push, work doesn't seem as much. Motivation is affected, meaning, more work now. When you're doing it later, it just becomes easier because your averages go up. So you could actually still work the same as previous to the push, but your averages are all higher because the push caused you to create higher CPO per appointment and forced you to become better at what you were doing. You became so good at it. If you ever done an interview or you ever have done something multiple times in a day or tried to memorize something multiple times in a day, or you practice something multiple times, by the time you get to that third, fourth, fifth time that day of doing it, it's way easier. And that's what happens by the end of the push. You get so much better at your appointment or your calls or whatever it is you're doing that every single appointment for the entire rest of the year is actually is increased. So with those things, how does that affect the rest of the year? I'd argue if your goal is 40K for the push, you're not just making $20,000 from doing the push. You're going to sell another $40,000 for the rest of the year throughout the other months of the year that you never would have sold before, because you're that much better, because you push yourself, because you changed, so to speak, during the push period. So really consider the impact it has on your business and understand why pushing is important. And I want you to write down 4 words, one on each line. Right? Persist. You go to the next line. Until, so persist until something happens. Persist until something happens. And if you notice, the first letter in each of those words spells push, P-U-S-H, right? That's what you need to do during the push. And what happens is miracles happen in push periods. You have your biggest day ever, your biggest week ever, and your belief is shifted. And if you ever read Napoleon Hill and you understand the mind of man can conceive what it can bring itself to believe it can achieve. It's not just what you can conceive you can achieve. It's not just law of attraction, like what you think about is what you get. It's what you can conceive and what you can believe. And most people don't think about that, but the push allows you to believe more in yourself, which makes it so you're going to sell even more than the 40K beyond what you would have sold, even more in other things. It's like an exponential effect. So let's talk about efficiency and maximizing your efficiency, the point number 2 here. A few things on this. So 3 things. One is build support and protect your time. So you want to build support for your push and protect your time. First is talk to significant others and tie them into your goals. Not only are you telling them, hey, this is what's going on, this is what I'm doing, and I'm not going to be available as much during these 3 weeks as I would normally be. Like, that's an important conversation to have with anyone that you normally spend time with, so that when they call you to hang out, you're not like, no. And then after a couple weeks, you're like, dude, what did I do? Like, what did I do wrong? Like, you hate me now? No, it's more like, hey, no, I can't remember. I'm in this oh yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, sorry. Good luck. Right? Hey, no, it's just 5 more days left, man. Almost there. We're going to have a great time. And you can schedule with those that are most important to you. You can actually schedule an additional time to hang out afterwards. And that can be something exciting that they can look forward to as well. So they need to know that so they're not negative, and then they support you, okay, as well. Next is I would tie parents into the goal if they're a factor, just really anybody else. But I remember Jonathan Schmidt, he had his mom cook for him as well, and his assistants he tied into his goal, and that's point number 2 on protecting your time and building support here, is utilize your assistants. So Jonathan was one of my mentees, Jonathan Smith, for some time, and his assistant, here's the stuff that he took number 1 for his push, and here's the stuff that his assistant did. They came over twice during the contest to clean the house, to do the dishes, to clean the floors, to clean bathrooms, to organize the bedroom. I'm rolling quick through this here because I'm assuming they'll be recorded. You'll be able to get the information later. Do laundry. Came over and did laundry for him. And all that Jonathan had to do was have the clothes out ready to go. And then they were washed, folded, dried, put back into place into his room. Also covering their roles with them, your assistants during the push. Tell them that it's going to be more than usual because you're going to be leaning on them to help support you in various different aspects of the business. So that's an important conversation to talk about how it's going to be a push for them too. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge. What is their reward? What's their bonus for when you hit your goal as well? Okay. Next thing is taking care of your schedule. Okay, this is again with efficiency here. So first is taking care of your schedule beforehand, okay? And then taking care of your schedule during. And I want to talk about both of these real quick. So beforehand, just try to think of anything that could possibly come up. I mean, you're already behind if you haven't thought about the push for this upcoming push here at this point. So there's things you need to start doing right now. So clean out your car, get your haircut done, oil change, just do all the things that you can't really necessarily delegate. I do delegate oil changes now and so on, but what are things that you don't delegate normally that you would find that, oh gosh, I've got to go do this, and this is happening in the middle of the push, okay? Pack if you're going out of town at any point during the push. Make your entire schedule for all the weeks of the push, not just the first week. So make the whole schedule. Have those conversations with your friends and family. So when are you going to do that? You need to start doing this all now. Have your goal sheet made, right? Put in a couple of days beforehand to relax if you have possibility to do that. Have a big phone day in the schedule to start, you know, a couple days before, just the day before, if you're just going to roll right into it. Schedule that huge phone day. Make calls all day. Get outside of your comfort zone. Make calls longer than you've ever made calls before. Make more calls than you've ever made before. Don't just go after the number of calls or the hours of calls. How many appointments are you going to book? Just book them. You know, that's what your focus should be. You know, there's no questions that it's going to get done. And in your mind, if that's the case, you will actually naturally create it much more easily by focusing on that versus numbers and things of that nature, okay? Big phone day, and what I mean by that numbers is numbers of hours or numbers of phone calls. What about the number of appointments? Have your big phone day in the schedule, do laundry, have your dentist appointments all taken care of. If you have dentist appointments coming up during the push, do it before the push or just put it on off till afterwards. Grocery shopping, go grocery shopping a couple days before. Meal prep day before, 2 days before, delegate that to your assistant. So again, the list can go on. It's just what is it that you can do now versus during the push to make it so that time can be spent selling, okay? During the push, as an example here, I'm going to just give you Jonathan's schedule here that he used to take number one for the push. Tuesday, June 14th, 6 appointments. The 15th, 6 appointments. 16th, 7 appointments. 17th, 7 appointments. 18th, 6 appointments. 19th, a call day on Sunday, and end up making 200 calls that day. And on 20th, the day after the call day, he had 8 appointments. He ended the week with 40 appointments that week there. Week number 2, he had 5 appointments plus phones on the 22nd. On the 21st, by the way, he had 7 appointments. 22nd, 5 appointments plus phones. 23rd, 7 appointments. 24th, 7 appointments. 25th, buddy's wedding. 26th, he had a home and garden show. 27th, 7 or 8 appointments in a different area that he's not normally in. And then 28th, 6 to 8 appointments in a different area he was not normally in. 29th, he had a division meeting with possibly 1 or 2 appointments. He ended the week with 39 to 44 appointments, which ended his push with 79 to 84 appointments, which leads to him hitting his goal. So do you know how many demos you need to get to hit your goal? Put them into the schedule and push forward to book those demos when you start your phones. Put yourself in the right place. Every time you're making calls, you should be in a positive environment. You should be making calls in an area where there's very few distractions. I don't care if you've got to go off the record, you got to go to like a Hilton or Marriott, go to the conference center. They're not using, barely any of them are being used anyways at this point because of COVID. You just go to the conference center, one of the conference rooms, sit down and just start making calls. Nobody's there. There's quiet. You can have your own huge office. Your office can be a huge conference room, okay? Just whatever. Go to a coffee shop. Make calls there with the noise-canceling headphones. Wherever you need to do, office, a friend's house, it doesn't matter. If you're in an environment that's not good when you're making your calls, you're going to be much less efficient, okay? Third thing with this is do something to start the day positively, okay? Do something that either helps your mind or your body when you're starting out for the beginning of the day. Even if it's only 10 minutes, whatever, do something positive that helps you. Work out, meditate, visualize, take a walk. You know, it's funny because people, they have this preconceived notion about a miracle morning that they need to do X, Y, Z in order to do a miracle morning, and they just can't commit to doing a miracle morning because it's too overwhelming or they just can't wrap their head around it. Like, you don't have to do a 2-hour miracle morning. You don't have to do an hour miracle morning. You don't have to do a 20-minute miracle morning. You can just do, all I'm asking is 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something. And if you're already doing some sort of miracle morning, just add 10 minutes of something else to the miracle morning that you're not currently doing. Whether I said, again, work out, meditate, visualize, take a walk. Those are things that I would recommend there. But your morning success yields daily success. Even if I wake up feeling like crap, or you wake up feeling negative, after doing something positive, it can really have a huge difference on your attitude. So start doing this immediately. And I promise you, you can feel like crap. You don't feel like doing it, right? But then you do it, and what happens? You'll see. Okay, just check it out and go for a run, swim, bike, whatever type of workout. You always feel better afterwards. And this is a non-negotiable because you're in a push period. So you need to be pushing yourself. I would recommend physically as well as business-wise, mostly business-wise in this case. But doing those things, then ask yourself how you feel. Believe me, it's better. You're more awake and you're more alive. So some of you guys are already doing a workout for 30 minutes a day for 5 days a week or something like that already. Like I said, I don't care. Add 10 minutes of something else. Okay. I also recommend getting to bed earlier than usual and getting up earlier than usual. And studies will dictate that you go to bed earlier, you're more well rested, even if it's the same number of hours that you're getting sleep-wise. Okay. In fact, I would challenge you to set a time to get up in the morning and just commit to doing that for the entire push period. Okay. Next point here, that was maximizing efficiency. Okay. Next thing is goal sheet. This is the third main point. So for your goal sheet, you want to make a goal sheet that's like a road to success type goal sheet that has notches along the side that will indicate what each level is that you're getting to along your goal sheet, so that when you get to the end, you've got signatures of customers all along this road to success. So imagine taking just a sheet of paper and you just have like a little S, like a road that's got lines across it, and it takes up basically the whole page. Okay, and then you break your big goal at the top there, whatever the goal is, and then you divide that by the number of notches that are on the list, and then that creates your goal sheet. Okay, each of those notches has a number, whether that's 1,500, 3,000, 35 or 4,500, all the way along 6,000, all the way up to your main goal. And every time you have a sale with a customer, you have them sign on the goal sheet where you are at in your goal, and you highlight and fill in the goal sheet as you go. Okay, this keeps you focused. It makes sure it gives you something to talk about on your appointments besides what your sales goal is, just talking about your sales goal. It's more about how hard you're working that makes the difference when you're talking about your goals than the number that you're going after. For them, that's what they care about. Okay, so they just want to see that you're doing something, you're going after something you've never done before, you're working your butt off, you're working harder, and people want to support that. They don't want to just support, hey, I'm trying to sell 52,000 for this push. Oh, okay, good luck, man. But hey, I'm working from this time to this time every day. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like, I'm going after, this is what happens if I hit the goal, and whatever the case is, right? Make it something that you're passionate about. Okay. One thing you can do with a goal type sheet related option here is just think about your chief aim with your goal. And one thing I did for one of the pushes back in the day that I've done periodically here at various pushes is to write out an affirmation that I can cover every single day for the push. And for example, I'll read this one off here. It is May 15th, 2009, and I, Jason Jeffrey, am so happy and grateful that I have now hit $10,000 for the rep development push. I easily and effortlessly accomplished my 3 key areas: 2 hours of great phoning each day, attracting homemakers and ultimates to people on demos, and helping people get as much Cutco as possible. I'm an amazing representative, and I attract people to me who have no problem spending money right now on Cutco. Because of my genuine effort, I have now made $5,000 in the last 2 weeks and have achieved the level I've set forth for this conference. Thank you, God, for it is done. And I would just say that every day, sometimes multiple times a day, over and over and over. Another thing you can do is visualize mentally the countdown. Visualize where you're at in the countdown. And as they're counting down, this is what I mean by this is when we get to the end of the push, there will be a countdown for such and such representative sold X amount, such and such those that are over this amount, those that are over this amount, and then all the way down to the top 10. And you can see yourself in the top 10, feel the glory. And if you have a team goal, you can think about the team goal as well. What I thought about for my best push ever is just committed, being one thing is it's really important, I think, is just being committed to Cutco long term. Because if you're committed to Cutco for more than just like a shorter period of time, you realize that that decision to work hard maximizes your opportunity for the rest of the year, like I was talking about earlier. If you're at a higher commission level, if your commission level is not the highest right now, you achieve a level, now you're at a higher commission level, or you just sell more per order because you worked harder during the push period, and that impacts the rest of your results. So start strong, not just finish strong. Okay, finish strong. And then a few final keys here. Sharissa was the #1 mentee that I had for the push period in 2019. She had more than doubled any of her previous pushes that she'd ever done. It was over $50,000 she sold for the push period. And some of the things that we had talked about that she thought really made the biggest difference to help her was, what are you going to do with the money from the push? So what are you going to do with the money? What are 100 reasons for you to go after the push? Make a goal that's big enough to excite you, but small enough that you believe it. And be real. Are you willing to put in the effort? Think about it. Sit and actually make the commitment, or don't make a commitment. But you want to know where you're at. Set boundaries for yourself, the people you will talk to during the push and the people you won't talk to. Get out and look at nature. Have a positive mental attitude focused on your feeling. Nothing is good. Nothing is bad. Don't take it personal. It's all part of the process. Don't have such an ego that you can think that you understand why things are happening to you, because you can't see the big picture, okay, of all the possibilities of clients you could call, people who would answer this and that, people who will call you to place an order. You don't know exactly why. Nothing's necessarily good or bad. And then don't tell negative stories is her last thing here. So tell it once and then never again, okay? And then finally here, what you need to do is you need to make a decision to go after your goal. What do you need to do to make that decision to go after your goal? What could hold you back from deciding to go after your goal? What is holding you back? Take some time to become clear with this so you can gain clarity and you can move forward. How can you overcome that? Okay, talk to your mentor. Final tips, lightning round, phones. Know how many demos you need to hit your goal. Push forward to book those demos and start your phones. Put yourself in the right place, good environment for those. Expand your practice list, or make sure your list for calls is super solid before you start your push. And then referrals. Make sure that approach is solid and are utilizing your referrals as well as past customer referrals as well.